to make what we do as simple as possible, it's about walking alongside your nervous system and correcting it every time it wants to go back to the survival pattern you were in.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive.
Okay, so today I actually wanted to talk about something that feels obvious to us, but maybe is not so obvious to like the rest of the world. You know, I feel like there's like people who hate chiropractors and always will. That's fine. And then there's people who love chiropractors, but still are like, so can you help me with my back pain? And then there's us. There's like an even smaller division.
Yeah.
And I think if you've been listening to this podcast for quite some time, you've maybe gotten the idea, but I'm like, I actually want to address that. Like, I would say in my office, I could probably count on one hand how many patients have actually come to see me for pain. Because most of my patients come in for so much more than just pain. They might have discomfort within this journey, but they always know that I'm here to also help them with mental health, to help them with overall function, to help them with capacity, right? The ability to actually handle your life, your home, your job. People come and see me and they usually change job. Like there's so many things that we actually get to help our people with. And I wanted to bring this up because it happened on Saturday and it was kind of the first time that I saw this all play out in real time. Because like I said, most people don't come in for pain or don't even call our office for pain. And if they do, we let them know, hey, we're a specialty clinic. We do so much more than that. You can come or you don't. So I had a patient come in, this mom of a 12-year-old. She had called in and it happened to be a Saturday. I don't usually take new patients on Saturday because we're usually pretty full on Saturday, but we happen to have a slower Saturday. And so I was like, sure, I've got time. Why not? So she came in for her daughter's back pain. And I let her know, like, I'm still going to take my scans. I'm still going to do my, paperwork. For the most part, they were kind of not opening up about anything else. It was just kind of like, nope, just back pain. Later in the exam, we found out, well, she doesn't necessarily sleep the greatest. So I was like, okay, interesting. And when I took her scans, it was like full shutdown. Within the visit, she kind of was like, well, she's a pretty mellow kid. So I'm always like, interesting. Not that being mellow kid is anything wrong, but we as a society are so primed and prepped to notice the overactive kids that we sometimes don't notice when our kid is underacting, right? And now we're getting into like avoidance and flight mode, that type of.
So this was like a
response.
pediatric patient with pain.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yep. And so she kind of had an intense adjustment. Like I was thinking it was going to be pretty simple based on her history. There was nothing really crazy going on, but it took me it was kind of a reverse engineering this pain because she felt it in one spot, but it was clearly coming from several other areas. And so I was like, usually something like this. She's also in sports. So it's like, could have been an injury. She didn't really necessarily say that there was specifically a day that this has happened, and it had been years since it happened before. And so basically the entire case was underactivity. After her adjustment, she felt fantastic. But when we did her report of findings, we started to hear things like, okay, well, maybe we do have some ADHD tendencies. Her HRV looked great, but her heart rate, I don't know, like the graph, if you will, was insane. It was like dipping really low, spiking really high, her arousal at the bottom. And if you guys could see, like, in our HRV, we not only have this fun little graph that we compartmentalize, we also want to see the quality of your heart rate and how consistent it is. We usually don't like to see a heart rate dipping all the way into like the 60s and spiking into like I think it was like 110 in a 3-minute period. And so I mentioned that to her, and I mentioned just how the body seemed, she had like a huge curve up by the brain, underactivity kind of the rest of the way. And so we started to hear things like ADHD, focus issues, and things like that. And so I was like, okay, so she would be what we would consider someone who's underactive. And there's a lot of exhaustion showing up. Then we started to hear things like, well, I'm struggling. I actually do struggle to fall asleep. I feel kind of unmotivated throughout the day. And then I feel like I can't shut off at night. And so I was like, okay, now we're talking. So it was just very interesting to like start off with a pain patient for the first time in I don't even know how long, and end up where I thought we should have been in the first place of like, okay, there's something deeper going on and we absolutely have some things that we can unpack. It's super awesome to see how well she's adapted to what she's going through, but that's I wanted to bring that up because it's like there's so much in knowing the value of chiropractic. Like there's so much in chiropractic as a whole. But then I feel like there's even this deeper layer that people are still so new to that I sometimes forget about because it's just like the world I live, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we also get calls, and usually it's very rarely do I have kids, like you said, who come in with pain, because kids are adaptable and if they're in pain, it's 2 days and they're fine. And their body is adapted to whatever just happened and they move on. But I'll get adults who will call in. Like, that chiropractor is really close to me. I'm in a lot of pain. Can you get me in today? Like, okay, well, if they're in like today, people, we're looking for a quick fix, people. And the type of chiropractic we do, and also all chiropractic, is not a quick fix. It's not one event that created your pain. It was a stacking up of stress that created your pain. So even that is like an entry conversation of, we didn't get here overnight. And also, what other stressors are going on in your life to have gotten you here?
Right. But I also think it's funny because those people have also probably been in pain for 9 months.
Yes.
like severe pain.
I had one lady that
months
was,
and months.
This is maybe spilling some tea. I had one lady who she called us. I don't know how exactly the conversation went. She was in extreme neck pain and it had just been getting worse over the 5 days, and like just a lot of muscle pain, not a stroke patient. I'll clarify that now. But Maggie, my CA, walked her through the whole process of like, hey, Dr. Kaufman cares about your pain, but the style of our practice is that we're going to dive deeper into that. And so she asked her how, over the phone. Like, we also work with people who've been under stress for a long time and are dealing with anxiety, depression, ADHD, those kinds of things. Emily was like, oh, that's also really interesting because I've been going through a ton of stress with a divorce and owning this business and all of these things. And so she's like, okay, I'll give you guys a shot. My first adjustment did not solve her problem. She said it made it worse. So she went to the joint the next day. I said, well, then she came back for her ROF to let me know that I was not helpful and that she went to the joint instead. I'm like, okay, did they help? She's like, well, no, but I can at least have more range of motion. I'm like, okay, well, I think she's signing a care plan, but isn't that funny? She's signing a care plan,
Yeah.
But
We usually do.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not going to solve your neck pain in a day. And also, I care so much about you and your vitality that if I stopped at your pain, we'd be missing your opportunity for your sleep and your gut health and your hormones and your mental clarity and adaptability to come online.
Mm-hmm.
And when I draw out this pyramid that you probably draw that out too, like the hierarchy of healing, and we talk about gas versus brake pedal, and it usually clicks for everyone. And they're like, oh, I had no idea that chiropractic did way more than just get rid of my sciatic pain. Mm-hmm. It's a very fun conversation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, people think we're crazy. I'm like, yeah, I'm a pediatric chiropractor. Like, what? Right. Why do kids have back pain?
Well, I think it's like, I feel like I remember seeing something the other day on social media where there's this PT clinic. I won't even elaborate, but they were kind of having a debate between PT and chiropractic. And this PT was saying that they just have such a more diverse wealth of knowledge and resources and tools compared to chiropractic. So that was kind of like the conversation.
How?
And I just found that really interesting. Well, I mean, I could kind of see, you've got Graston, you've got cupping, you've got, you know what I mean? Like the tools in which they use to maybe create results for their patients are more, at least it probably looks like, it's like they're working on the same thing, but they can approach it differently.
Sure.
Which makes them think that they have a deeper understanding of things. And to me, a good chiropractor is really, really good at the one thing that we are really, really good at, because it addresses so many things outside of that. Because the way that we approach care is really about retraining the brain to function optimally over time. Mm-hmm. That's all we need to be good at.
Yeah. I remember I was talking to one. I just want to say that breadth does not the same as depth. So just because you have lots of breadth in tools,
right,
doesn't mean you have depth in that. And not to say, there are a handful of excellent PTs here that I like referring to. but they don't take insurance and they're not in the insurance model. And the tools that they have are not PT school tools.
Right.
Like, they got some depth into, like, these obnoxious patterns that you've developed in your gait and your mobility and your compensations that say, I want that taken care of. I've helped you with your nervous system, and now your nervous system needs to develop better patterns and movement. Mm-hmm. Go forth and do that.
Integrate.
Yeah.
Go forth.
That's a good. That should be a shirt.
I'm so sick in that.
That is great. Anyway, stuck on that a little bit.
Humor.
but
yes, so I think it goes back. I mean, it kind of like to transition back as we kind of, I took us left field. It's like, I think any provider as a whole needs to have extended knowledge to be a good provider in this day and age. Mm-hmm. The curriculum that we get is very, very surface level, and you have to have your own flavor, if you will, of specialization, of getting to know something really, really well to be really, really good at it. And I think that circles back to why we are so passionate about this brand of chiropractic that isn't just about pain, because that, again, like, we were taught so much about pain in school. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes sense why we all think that we can just treat pain in school, because school has taught us so well how to address pain. I didn't learn about the nervous system in its true depth, other than maybe a class or two, until after I started doing seminars and trainings and certifications to really understand the level of depth that our work provides. And so when someone calls for pain, or when someone suggests that we see someone with pain, it's like, that is such a small part of what our profession can do. And we are just the kind that went forward and figured that out.
Yeah. So my last chiropractic conference, the Idaho State Association, they usually have 3 pillars of chiropractic art and philosophy for speakers, which is so refreshing. So the philosophy is what Dr. Veronica and I are talking about, of this vitalistic philosophy of chiropractic. And then there's the mechanistic philosophy of chiropractic, where chiropractic stops once you fix the mechanical dis-ease, which is probably even too much of a vitalistic term. When you fix when you fix the mechanical dysfunction, get stuck bone unstuck, get person moving, no more pain. That period, the end.
She said caveman mentality.
Sorry, so no offense. Seriously, no offense. Then there's this vitalistic, which a lot of these mechanistic people would call us the cavemen. But this was the original premise of chiropractic, was that we can restore function to the nervous system, restore that brain-body communication, and the whole person's being and vitality is able to express its full potential. And Dr. Sherry McAllister wrote this book called Adjusted Reality. Let's link that in the show notes. So her goal and her mission is to rebrand chiropractic, because it was misbranded in the 80s with personal injury, neck pain, back pain. In the 80s is when it kind of shifted to that. Because we were trying to figure out how to navigate this world where the American Medical Association was boycotting our practice. Same with massage and PT and acupuncture, right? And so it didn't go well for us long term. So she wrote this book called Adjusted Reality. I would say she is the most incredible speaker I've ever listened to. So Adjusted Reality, supercharge your whole being for optimal living and longevity. And she got this book published through Forbes, which is a big deal. I'm going to brag on this woman because she's like the Heidi Havoc of authoring. The most impressive award is the Independent Press Award, celebrating outstanding independent books that demonstrate creativity, editorial excellence, and relevance to contemporary issues. She won that. And she's won other ones that are less impressive now that she has the Independent Press Award. And she's a bestseller on Amazon. It's incredible. It's an easy read. I'm having my CAs read it because it goes through these pillars of recharging and nutrition and movement. And it also has this chiropractic perspective at the end of each chapter on how you can achieve the most vitality and the most optimization with chiropractic. included in these things, right? How you can make better decisions with chiropractic, how you can move better with chiropractic, how you can, I mean, we haven't gotten to that chapter yet, but like how you can have more clarity and confidence and like overall well-being with chiropractic. Very cool working. And that's like the whole thing is like, we have to rebrand because people only know us for neck pain and back pain. And we're so much more than that. Like, let's honestly let the PTs do that because they can be good at that. And what we can be good at is getting the nervous system online for that foundation to then get them to the PT, and it goes super well instead of like fighting progress with the PT, right? Yeah.
Because I really think it just goes down to like neuro retraining, right? It's like, it's why we are, to make what we do as simple as possible. It's about walking alongside your nervous system and correcting it every time it wants to go back to the survival pattern you were in. That is what we do as chiropractors. I just got chills. I'm like, someone needed to hear that. Yeah. Because, I think we can get into the science behind it. We can get into like how, the hypothalamus, how, all of those and neuroanatomy, physiology, like that stuff responds to what we do. But at the end of the day, it's simply about it's like something happened in your life to make your brain revert to a pattern that was unhealthy for the entire system. Not because the brain is dumb, but because it needed a way to adapt to a situation that it wasn't designed to handle, right? A toxin, a trauma, or a thought pattern. And we as chiropractors get to put it back on track. And all you're doing when you come in 3 times a week is your brain's going to slowly go back, and we're going to tell it to slowly go back to where it needs to go. And like when you put it to that sense, I think it just makes so much more sense. I mean, it's just like any other process, right? Like there's no process other than, I guess, medication. But even that, you have to take that every day, right? In order for it to work. Like you have to continue to give the brain input for a true change to happen. We just get to do it with the most non-invasive, the simplest, and the most effective way to keep the good parts of your brain functioning happily, and then also rewire the patterns that weren't supposed to be there in the first place.
Yeah. And it's not always 3 times a week. Right. It's like, how often do you need to come until your body is stable in this new healthy pattern? And that's different for everyone because everyone's unique, and we can acknowledge that, and we can work with that because we don't have to worry about these insane side effects of how is your chemistry going to interact with this drug. We don't have to worry about that. And anyways, chiropractic's cool. The end.
So if you are curious about a deeper than pain approach to health and wellness as a whole, we are just saying that we are here to help, and there's lots of other doctors out like us who have done the extra work, the continuing education, the certifications, the continual training and knowledge of the nervous system to be able to support and retrain the nervous system to head in the direction that you want it to go, so you can have the results and the experience that you want to have. You can find information about at least starting an insight scan. We didn't talk about insight scans, but if you've been on our podcast for a while, you've heard about them. I don't know, a couple episodes back, I'm sure you'll hear us talk about it. I don't know when the last time we did. Maybe we need to do a new updated one about our scan technology. But essentially, we do 3 different scans that give us a really, really in-depth understanding of how your nervous system is currently functioning, what it needs to kind of change in the right direction so that it can function optimally. And we take care of that in the first exam, I should say. And we also go over your history in depth to know exactly what kind of life experiences you're bringing into the office so that we can take that into account when we're making your care plan and providing you with care. So you can find information about that new patient exam at our website, so at havenhealthchiropractic.com. I don't think I know what your website is.
VesselChiro.com. Easy peasy. Or just call us. Our CAs will chat with you.
Yeah, they would love to chat. I'm in Ankeny, Iowa. Dr. Serena is in Boise, Idaho. And if you are in neither of those places, we have the PX Docs directory in the show notes for you to check out.
I'll print us out. Dear Lord, thank you for these incredible nervous systems that you've given us that allow us to live this complex and beautiful life. Thank you for chiropractic being discovered and refined in a sense, so that while we experience these emotional, physical, chemical stressors that we weren't designed to carry the burden of, that we have a resource to remove those stressors from our system so that we can live a life that you designed us to live. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey,
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz.
And Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.